behalf of Amity Innovation and Design Center, Amity University, Uttar Pradesh, and Institution Innovation Council, I extend a warm welcome to all esteemed guests, respected faculty member, and dear students to the session on intellectual property rights and IP management for startups. As we know, innovation is the need of an hour. Protecting the right of an innovator become equally important to encourage the creation of human intellectual. Today we have with us two eminent person from this field to give us an insight about the relationship between innovation and IPR. So I take immense in introducing our first speaker of today, Dr. Amrish Chandra, Associate Professor, Amity Institute of Pharmacy, Amity University, Uttar Pradesh. Dr. Amrish Chandra is an established academician, a research scientist, and a registered patent agent with the Government of India. He has vast year of experience with all aspects of the patent process and wants to play his role in building national innovation capability by making patent filing affordable to a large community of students through LexGen, your patent partner in the innovation India. He is supported in his endeavor by White Science Innovation Limited UK, for which he is also an advisory board member. He also spearheads Big Innovation Drive, which awards up to 1 lakh rupees for best innovation in the domain. He has vast rich experience and has been investigator of research projects funded by various government agencies and pharmaceutical industries. Dr. Chandra has filed patent for his 12 invention and also served in an advisory capacity in many institutions and universities. So I welcome you, sir, to please enlighten our students with your words.
Thank you very much, ma'am. So I will introduce myself first, and then I would request the audience to introduce themselves. Okay. So basically today we will be dealing with the IPRs, patent, copyrights, trademark, and industrial management or IP. What are the various kind of IPs and how do we take care of them when we go from like a student stage or from a startup or to a commercial stage. Okay. So I'm Dr. Amrish Chandra. I am an associate professor at MIT Institute of Pharmacy, and I am also a registered patent agent. So this is an exam that you can give, which is held by Government of India, and if you qualify that, you become a registered patent agent. Okay, and my contact details. So what you need to do is you need to scan this QR code. So if you can just scan the QR code, uh, you will have a panel in front of you, and in that panel you will be able to put in your name, you will be able to put in your age at least, so that I know how old you are and what kind of a life stage you would be. And then you can mention what is your details, like you are a student in agriculture or doing BTech or MBA, you know. And if you want, you can also mention your area of interest if there's something. So you will not need to like download anything. You just need to scan the QR code. And if you don't have a specific application for scanning QR code, you can even use the universal scanner that is available in Paytm app or some other app. This link will be open. Otherwise, you can also go to slido.com at 123321 and type the code, and you will be able to join in. Do we really have some live audience behind the screens?
Yes, sir, we can, students can unmute themselves.
Yes, sir, we are writing,
Students,
sir.
please do
Okay.
interaction with sir.
So Rinesh Roy, you are a student in organic agriculture. Good enough.
Students, please scan this QR code and interact with sir.
Shivam from organic agriculture. Good. Okay, Anjali. So students, the audience, please make it fast. We'll wait for another 1 minute and then we'll go to the next question. Good, Harshit from aerospace. So we have our diversity also. Not everyone is from agriculture. Mithali from organic agriculture. Okay. Mathli. Okay, so we move on to the next question and see if you can answer this thing. Are you able to answer it? So I want to know, why did you join this presentation? So there must be various reasons. A few of them could be for attendance, for certificate. So whatever is your reason for joining this presentation, I would like to know that. Ajay Nandi, okay. But also let me know, everyone, like, why did you join this presentation? Like, you are going to spend 1 precious hour or 2 precious hours of your life in attending this particular seminar or event. Okay. So if there's one thing that you want to know and there's that thing is something which I can let you know, I would think that the purpose of our meeting over here will be solved. Okay. So are you able to see the second question? So I want answers to the second question. I like learning new things. Okay, and acknowledging myself in agriculture plus business related stuff. Okay, to get information in all the required aspects to tackle every situation while drafting my career as an entrepreneur or as an innovative startup. Okay. To enhance knowledge. Okay. A few more quick entries so that we can proceed. Gaining insight into skills needed for entrepreneurship. Okay, to learn how to start a new venture and about what are the scope of agriculture. Can it be a multi-billion business opportunity? Yes. Okay, I think that would be fine. Abhishek Sen from agriculture to know about IPR and how it functions in India and entire world. Okay. So with this, we'll start with the presentation and I will give you a brief about the various things that we can do, okay, with IPR. Okay. So this is our campus. This is my Hungarian group for research. This is my Italian group for research. And why do we do intellectual property? So anything that you generate out of your brain is intellectual property. Okay. So whether it's a new design for aerospace, whether it is a high yielding fertilizer, design of a new tractor or new drilling machine, a new way of preserving food while it's being transported. So anything that you are able to do is intellectual property. And why does this intellectual come into place? If everybody would have been happy, satisfied with their stomachs full, everybody would just be sleeping and just roaming here and there. But life is not that easy. We have a lot of struggles to make, and during the course of life you find that there are literally some major problems that you feel. So when you get connected with the people who are actually on the field, I don't mean the farmers or anyone, but when you go down and you work actually in a particular domain, you find that yes, there are a number of problems. Okay, so if there are people, students from agriculture, and they go down to the level of farmers field, if you go down to the level of distribution of food, the logistics, so you will come to know how there are many challenges at each and every field. So the moment you are able to identify a problem, okay, this farmer is having say problem in being able to irrigate his field. Okay, here there's water scarcity. Okay, so what you can do is you can go for drip irrigation. I hope everyone knows what is drip irrigation. So drip irrigation, we put water drop by drop near the roots of the plant. Okay, so that again is an intellectual property and an innovation kind of a thing which can be used. Okay, so this is what intellectual property basically comes into picture. This is a very simple example that we see in healthcare. So these were the birds, bar कहते हैं इसको, and this is found in forest and village areas, a lot of the things. So a scientist worked on this and they found that he said that if these can stick to the cloth, why can't I make something like this? So he worked on nylon for 14 years and he found that if nylon is treated with laser, the ends become hard. Okay, so and then from this came the invention Velcro, and we see the invention of Velcro being used in shoes, in blood pressure monitors, and in curtains and all those places. Okay, and the person was George de Mestral. Okay, so just a quick overview. Patent rights. Patent gives you the right to make and sell the product or a process. So the basic answer is no, it does not give you the right to make and sell the process. It gives you the right to prevent others from making your invention. So there is a difference, slight difference between you having the right to make and sell something and you having the right to stop others from doing it. So if you have a patent on it, Someone else who wants to do it needs to take permission from you or needs to take a license from you. Okay. And the patent term, most of the time there would be a misconception. The patent term is for 20 years. So it's right that it is 20 years. But the 20 years tenure starts from the day you file the patent. Okay. So granting may take 2 years, it may take 3 years, 4 years. Okay. But remember that the duration of the patent starts from the day you file your patent. So the day you file your patent, you have legal rights to practice it. The day it gets published, you have the right to sue others once the patent is granted. Okay. Patent, again, it's not a worldwide right. It's a territorial right. So if you have something very innovative, especially for entrepreneurs, very important. So if you have something very big and you think that this particular thing can also be used in India, it can also be used in Africa, it can also be used in some other countries which are very agriculture intensive, it can be used in Canada, US. So it's better that you go for a patent in all these countries so that you can protect your rights in all these countries. Okay. Otherwise, if you have made something new, you have a patent in India, but say you don't have a patent in XYZ country, then the people in that country will be able to make that and use that in their country, without paying you even a single rupee. Okay. And is invention patentable subject matter if it meets the following criteria? So it should be novel. So whenever you are working on any of the things, so for example, if you're working in agriculture field and you find that you want to develop a fertilizer, okay, or you want to develop a new drilling machine, drilling for drilling the fields, okay. So whatever you are making, it should be novel. Novel means that all the various components of that particular invention that you are making should not be found anywhere in a single document. So there should be no single document which almost or mostly it depicts the same thing that you are doing. Okay, so that is the first thing. The second thing is your process must be inventive and not obvious. So your invention, you establish that your invention is not available as a whole in any of the documents in the world. Okay, but one part is given in X document, second part is given in some other document, third part is given in some other document. So you need to know that if a person who is skilled in agriculture or who is skilled in aerosciences, if he knows all these literatures, will he be able to combine and make the invention that I am making? Okay, so that is the test for non-obviousness or inventiveness. Okay, that's the second criteria that it should have. The third one is comparatively a very easy criteria because it's industrial application. It means that it should have some application. Okay, so if you're making a fertilizer or drilling machine and aerospace engine or something, okay, then it will obviously have industrial application, and this is not difficult to meet. The fourth one comes in picture, and this is very specific to India specifically, which makes a granting or getting a patent in India much more difficult as compared to other countries. And it is about section 3 and section 4. Okay. And then okay, so we'll deal about section 3 and section 4. And there's one more thing that I'll need to tell you, that when you are going for a patent application, you do not need to wait for the entire invention to be ready with all the results. So even if you are ready to some extent with the things, then you can go and file a patent application. Okay, with the provisional application can be filed. These are the different types of applications that you can file. So new means invention. It should not be published. See, patent is a territorial right. So you will get patent only when, so if you file in India, you will get Indian patent. If you file in US, you will get a US patent. But when the examiners are checking whether your invention is patentable or not, they will search the literature of the whole world. Okay. They will not search the literature just in India. So you cannot say that this product or this fertilizer, this chemical is available in US but not in India, so I'm going to patent it in India. No. If your product is patented in US, if a product, and if it is not patented in India, okay, you can make that product, sell that product, but you cannot patent that product. Okay. depending on various terms and conditions for manufacturing that particular product. Okay. So it should be inventive. It should not be it should not be obvious to any person who is skilled in the art. Okay, and obviously it should have industrial application. So this brings me to the next question: is every invention patentable? So the answer stands to be no. All the inventions are not patentable because you have they should have novelty, inventiveness, non-obviousness, industrial applicability, and it should not fall under section 3 and section 4. So all inventions are not patentable. And section 3, coming to section 3, the important clause for people from engineering and agriculture would be this one. So if an engineer claims that I have made a machine which has got 100% performance. So if you put X amount of fuel, this fuel has got so many kilojoules of energy, and the machine that is moving is also producing the same amount of kilojoules. The patent office is not going to accept such kind of things. They will say that it is contrary to the well-established law, that there is obviously some loss of energy. So such things will not be granted. A gambling machine, a biological warfare will not be granted. Okay. Anything, if you are making a GMO or you are doing something which is contrary to the public thing, it will not be granted. However, GMOs, exploitation of which could be contrary to public order or morality or could harm human beings, are also not allowed. So if you are making a GMO, you will not be able to patent that. Okay. However, if you are having a microorganism, okay, if you are making a genetically modified microorganisms, you can patent that, because that is the work of human. Okay. Laws cannot be patented. Okay, like Newton's law. Okay. Naturally occurring microorganisms, they cannot be patented because they are already there. So there's nothing big that you did by discovering them. This is mainly important for pharmaceutical and also for agriculture people. Like, so if you have a particular salt and you make a compound, and if you make some modifications and make esters or ethers or something, you will not be able to patent that. Okay. Even the new use of a particular herbal or a product cannot be patented. So if you are like growing lemongrass in your fields, and you say that this lemongrass has got this new application or this can do this particular treatment, no, it will not be allowed. So it should be a new thing. The use cannot be a new. Okay. And section 3E says that mere mixing 2 or 3 things. So if you already know that nitrogen, phosphorus and other things are important for fertilizers, or you know that neem, haldi, tulsi, they're all given for cough remedy, and now you are mixing all these 3 and saying that I have made a new product. Okay, no, nothing doing. You will not be able to get a patent on it unless it shows some good amount of activity as compared to the individual components. Similarly, like this was for chemicals, similarly for equipments. So if you have a motor, a steering, and a pedal and all those things, and an engineer comes and says that, okay, I am putting this motor, this paddle, this steering, and I'm making a new vehicle kind of a thing. No, it will not be patented because these things were already known over there. You just made a combination of them. So there was nothing new in it. Okay. Cultivation of algae things are not patentable. Okay. Now this is very important for agriculture people, which says that the method of agriculture or horticulture is not patentable. Okay. So if you say that I have a method of growing rice, or I have a method for growing wheat, or I have a method for doing this kind of agriculture, no, it will not be patented. But if you say that I have a fertilizer composition, I have a composition of fertilizer, it is fine, that is patentable. If you say I have a new technique for controlling the loss of water, or for better irrigation, that is patentable. Okay. So all these things will be patentable. If you say I have a new device or a new instrument for tilling of the fields, that will be patentable. Okay. So though this particular clause exists, but there are ways around it. For those who are dealing in health sciences, anything which includes the treatment is not allowed. Clones of new varieties of patents are not allowed. Okay. Mathematical formulas and computer programs are not allowed as such. Computer programs can be copyrighted. However, computer programs along with hardware components can be patented. That is important for engineering students. And if you write a good poem, a song, if you have a thesis or a project work that you are doing it, you can obviously go for a copyright. So these things can be copyrighted. And then a method of teaching, learning, playing, or this thing cannot be patented. Method of diagrams, symbols, these things cannot be patented. Okay, circuit layouts, they cannot be patented, but they have a different act, which is a IC, Circuit Design Layout Act, under which they can be protected. So if you are making a new circuit, integrated circuit, then that can be protected under a different act, but not patents. Most of the agriculture people will always find some kind of traditional knowledge coming in here and there. So if there is a particular product which is known for a particular activity, then you will not be able to patent it. Okay, so if you say haldi for wound healing or neem for wound healing, it will not be patented. But if you say the formulation of haldi, okay, say lipid nanoparticles of haldi or something for wound healing, yes, you can patent that. Okay. Section 4 deals with uranium, all those radioactive materials. So if you're doing any work on these things, you will not be able to file a patent because it's related to defense and other atomic energy. Okay. So if your product has say 4 components and the accused someone else has able to make the same thing with 3 components. So if you say you are having 4 components in your fertilizer, okay, and there's someone who comes and says I will use 3 components and I will make the same fertilizer with the same efficacy, then you cannot do anything. The other person can have this own patent also, and you can have your own patent also. Okay, but if the patented claim is has 4 components and there is someone who tries to be over smart, and he says that the 4 components exist, so I'm going to add the 5th component also to it and I'm going to patent it. No, he will not be able to get a patent on it. Then there are some absolute, and this is the patent process. So patent process usually starts with filing of the patent, and it takes around so once you file the patent application, be it provisional or complete. So if you're filing a provisional, you have 12 months to file the complete application. And currently the application process is quite fast, so you can expect to be get yes or no, a grant or a rejection decision within 2 to 3 years, not more than that. If you go with filing with early publication and you file the examination simultaneously, within 2 to 3 years, you will have a yes or no regarding your patent. These are the various forms, and this is the link where you can find these forms and fees. Form 2 is the main body of the patent, where you have all the descriptions coming in. Okay, so you can have a provisional or a complete one, and these are the various subtopics or the headings under which you need to fill in the details. So your field of invention, the background, what were the problems in the earlier patents or publications which could not be solved, and what is it that you want to solve, the summary, the description, examples on all these things. Okay, and then if you have some drawings, they need to be in a proper format as per the Patent Act. They cannot be just put like this. So on one of the top corners, you will have your name, other corner will have the sheet number, and the bottom will have the signatures. And finally, the claims, so they need to be drafted very meticulously. And if you are an engineering student and you have these components or flowcharts like this, you see you need to number each of these components very precisely, and you need to mention these numbers in your claims also. Okay, for better clarity. This is the site where you can search. It is indiaservices.gov.in, public search. And when you are making your product, when you are patenting something, what is important is that you don't just consider patents as first and last thing. Okay. Recently, you must have seen or you must have heard a lot about domain name disputes. Okay. So a particular company has such and such name, but they did not get the domain. So someone else has that particular domain. Okay. So they are suing it. So as the time progresses and as the email IDs finish off on Gmail, you will not find unique email IDs for yourself. And similarly, it will become more and more difficult for people to find that exact domain name for their own company or the domain name of their choice. Okay. So being an entrepreneur and being a person who's looking forward for establishing a business, a multi-billion billion business, it's very important that you go very slowly and very steadily, and not even slowly, you need to go very steadily, very make sure that you are doing everything right. So before you log in a company name for yourself, or before you log in a brand name for yourself, you need to make sure that there is no dispute with the company name matching with another company name, with your domain name inflicting or influencing some other brand name. Okay, and the availability of the domain name. Now, one of the most important things when you go for a trademark is that if you are a fruit vendor, okay, so you are selling a lot of fruits and everything, okay, and you want to have Apple as your logo for your brand, you will not be able to allow to have Apple as your logo if you are trading into fruits and vegetables. Okay, because that would mean that no other person can put a photograph of Apple on their boxes because you own that particular trademark. Okay, so a trademark in which a field in which you are practicing, you will not be having a trademark in that field. You will be having trademark in a photograph or a symbol which does not relate to your product. So a laptop can have a brand name as Apple, but a fruit vendor cannot have Apple as a trademark. So just remember this difference. Okay. So in Rush, if you just take up some name which does not, which is related to your exactly to your field, you will not be able to get a trademark on that particular name. Okay. And in absence of trademark and in absence of trademark, you will not be able to very strongly hold on the domain name also, because that is also a challenge. Okay. So trademarks, as you know, it's a symbol. Okay, so we have seen these trademarks throughout our life. Okay, and then you see there are various classes. Okay, so you need to apply for each of the classes in which you want to protect your logo or trademark. Okay, so if you're a medical apparatus, you need to file in medical apparatus, and as a precautionary measure, you might want to file in all these 45 categories. Okay, so if you're a big brand, probably you will file in all the 45 categories. Okay, and however, if you are conservative, you will apply for a brand name related to your thing. So like you will apply in fabrics also and clothing also. Okay, and similarly. Okay, so you will apply in yarn and threads also. Okay, so and when you apply in each of these categories, you need to pay a separate fees and separate application form for each of these categories. So there's no single form for all the categories. Okay. So that is important that you do this. Okay. Next very important thing is copyright work. Whatever contents you are creating, whatever brochures you are containing, whatever photographs you are using over there, all those are subject to copyrightable work. So it's a two-pronged thing, a double-edged sword. You cannot use what others have done and others can't use what you have created. Okay. So before you just copy and paste any picture from internet on your brochure, make sure that it is free and it's open to use, or it's better that you purchase that or take permission from the person to use that particular photograph or content and retain that permission with you for a good amount of time. This is the website for applying for copyright forms. Again, a very important thing, designs. You must have seen the iPhone. So before iPhone came into picture, most of the phones used to be more of a rectangular shape. But when iPhone came, it had these curved edges. Okay. And it was a unique design feature of iPhone, which that they had protected under design patent. And because of which, when companies like Samsung and others use the same kind of curved feature on their mobile phones, they were sued and they have to pay a huge amount of money as a settlement fees to Apple in order to settle the claims. Okay. So designs are again very important. So if you are making a beverage, a new machine, if you design a new aircraft, if you can think of designing a new shape of an aircraft, of a new car, okay, you should probably go for a design patenting, because these are very cheap and they are easily, you can easily get them. Okay. And it offers an equal amount of protection. So if there's some good design that you make and you get a design patent for it, there are people who are looking out for various designs, and if they stumble upon your design and they find it very good, they might pay you a handsome royalty to buy the rights for your design. Okay. So instead of fighting a litigation, it's better that a company will pay you something and will just buy the design from you. Okay. Another very important thing, being an entrepreneur, is the trade secret. You must have seen that there's a favorite drink in India which we call as Ruafza. Okay, and if there is someone who is able to break the code for it, like the taste, the color, the consistency, if you are able to get everything correct, there are people waiting in the market who want to make a duplicate or a copy of that particular thing, but they're not able to make it, just because it's a trade secret which has been very ferociously been guarded for n number of years. Okay, similar thing with Coca-Cola. They did not go for a patent because the duration for a patent is 20 years, and you need to file a patent application in all the countries. So it's a domain space, is territorial. So if you have if Coca-Cola made Coca-Cola in US and they wanted to protect it in all the world, they would have needed to file patent in all the countries. And believe me, filing patent in other countries is a very costly thing. It's a very costly affair. So, and even if they would have got a patent, the patent would have expired within 20 years, then it would have been freely available to everyone to make. So sometimes it's better that not to go for a patent, not to go for any protection, just to keep it a trade secret between a couple of people or a few people who just know about the secret formula that you're working on. Okay. Again, a very important thing, if you're into agriculture, you must have seen people having particular foods in particular areas or something. And if you know something which is very popular, very good in your particular area or in a particular area, and they don't have a geographical indication tag for their product, you can probably apply for them. You can pursue them to file a geographical indication tag. So once you get a geographical indication tag, the same thing becomes multi-fold valuable. Okay. So a silk sari you will get anywhere, but when you say Banarsi silk or Mysore silk, it commands a different kind of weightage and money and respect and everything. Okay. So that is what geographical indications get you. Integrated circuits, engineering students. So whenever you are making some integrated circuits, you can go for layout design, protection of integrated circuits. And if you make a new plant variety, it has to be protected under New Plant Variety Protection Act. Okay, so there are different clauses, but they are not the same as patents. And in order to encompass all the things and make your business a really success and a multi-billion success, you need to have a combination of all the things. Things which will get old, which will wear out with time, okay, which don't have a very long life of say 50 years or 100 years. So such things are patented. You don't go for a patent for the best of your things. You keep it as a trade secret. Your entrepreneurship skills or your trade basically depends on that. patents help in two purposes. One, it helps in protecting you, and secondly, it helps in stopping others. So if you don't want your competitor to come in your field, you're going to have n number of patents, and because you hold a patent in that particular field, okay, the competitor will not be able to come into your field because you have the patent for it, or else he will have to buy it or license it from you. Okay, so that is one of the strategies how patents are used. Okay, trademarks will give you a brand image, a brand name, visibility in the long duration. Okay, but they need to be very, very carefully chosen. If you go into a trademark war or a trademark litigation with some other company, it can be very costly. So before you go into trademark, it's better to do get exclusive trademark search done before you file for a trademark. You don't want to get into litigation. And anything that you make, right from your thesis to your project work to any brochures that you make, you can just go for a copyright. Okay, copyrights are again they are a very, you usually get, you have a copyright the day you create a content, but if you want to sue someone, you need to have a proof that you have a copyright. Okay, so it's better to get a copyright registered on your particular product, and when you put the C symbol over there, okay, and say that yes, it is copyrighted, it does command some more respect. Okay, and so a combination of all these things is something which is very important for you to make a good entrepreneur, real business. You need to be very cautious, very carefully thoughtful about how you're going to manage this, how you're going to plan it, what things can go for copyright, what can go for patents, what have to be kept secret, how you're going to have your domain name protection and trademarks and all those things. Okay. And with this, I thank you all and I'm open to your questions. This is a QR code for Google Form questionnaire. So you can put in your, so it is a small quiz which you can attempt by using this QR code. Okay. And I'm open for your questions. So if you have any questions, you can ask.
Students, please ask your queries to Professor.
So you talked about patents in a specific area. Like if I am in India, I have to file a patent in India only. Like a person in US that file patent in US only. So sir, can international peoples can use our whatever the idea or a product?
Yeah, so patent is basically territorial. So if you want to have, if you are an Indian and you file a patent in India, you get a protection in India. After filing in India, you have 12 months to go for a patent application in any of the countries. Okay. So you can say file in US, Canada, Germany, wherever you want to file, you can file it and you can get a patent over there also. Only the countries where you file patent and you are granted a patent, you will be able to stop others from manufacturing or making and selling what you are doing. In other countries, say Sri Lanka or Nepal or South Africa, if you don't have the patents over there, the people over there, they will be able to make it and sell it and use it without paying any royalty to you.
So like any agriculture practices going in America or Netherlands. So can we use in India without any paying royalty or any permission from them?
See, the answer is both yes and no kind of a thing. You can use that if they have not patented that particular technology in India. Okay, so if there's no patent, if there's no copyright or there's no other objections to it, you can make that and use it in India. No one is going to sue you.
All right, sir. And sir, for like you talked about copyright. So for a specific like photograph, if I have and I want to like file it with a copyright. So do I have to register somewhere or I just put a C marks over at the last or the at the top of the pictures? That's enough.
See, photographs, if you have a collection of photographs, then you can probably make an album of it. And if the photographs are related to a single theme, like trip to Himalayas, or trip to beach, So you can make an album of all the photographs. You need, I showed you the website of copyright. You can just type in copyright government India. If you go to the website, you register yourself, fill up the form, pay a fees of official fees, and upload the documents that you have, and you will get a copyright for it.
All right, sir. Thank you, sir.
Any other questions, students? Please ask. Students, please do interaction with sir. It's a golden opportunity for you to file a good patent.
So you have mentioned registered patent agent like under your name. So
Mhm.
what is that? Can you brief about it?
It's basically like the government of India usually annually they conduct an examination for qualification of people who are science graduates, minimum science graduates. Okay, and for them to apply for patent exam. So a science or an engineering graduate can apply for the patent agent exam. The syllabus is usually related to Patent Act and rules, and if you qualify that particular exam, there are three rounds, like two written exams and one viva voicing, and if you qualify that, you become a patent agent.
So this is just a tag like a professor or assistant professor, or this is a job profile.
This is a certificate like you have, we can call it as CA. CA का tag मिलता है आपको एग्जाम के बाद.
Yes, sir.
हाँ, उसी तरीके का आप कह सकते हो.
All right.
Any other students wants to have query, please.
Sir, is there any copyright in adopting techniques?
I did not get the question. Clarify, please clarify it.
Sir, like in agriculture, there are organic agriculture and some are hydroponics. So, sir, these are some techniques. So, if anybody done these techniques in other countries, so is there any copyright for it?
No, there's no copyright for it. It might be the techniques which are being used, or some part of the technique might be copyrighted, or some instruments or equipments which are being used for it, they might be patented.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
So you have to do a searching and see whether if they are patented or not.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
And sir, can we copyright our like a hypothetical idea? Like we are planning to do some work on some projects, and we have the idea about that we are going to do in this form. So, sir, can we copyright that with before performing that in a real world?
Yes, you can copyright that, but you cannot patent that. For patenting, you need to have some basic work done at least in order to be able to file at least a provisional patent. Because provisional patent also requires a description of the invention, and if the description is not there, it does not stand much chance of getting a patent.
And sir, like after getting copyrights, and if I get to failure in our like in my project, so sir, is there any issue with that?
No, copyright is basically based on the content that you are generating. Okay,
Yes, sir.
it does not matter whether it's successful or not. So there are different things. Copyright is for the content, for the sequence of words that you are making. Okay, and patent is for the technology that you are making it. So if I am writing a sentence, say A B C D, so that is my copyright, and somebody is writing A C D A B, then that is his copyright. So just by changing the word sequences, two different people can have two different copyrights. But if I patent a technology, say hydroponics or drip irrigation technology, I patented it. Okay, no one else can do the same thing.
Yes, sir. And so you also talked about uh, a slide in which you gave the examples of ABCD, any program or anything is conducted like ABCD. So anyone can exclude a part of that and take a copyright of that, but no one can
Not copyright, that is
include some.
patent. Okay.
Yes, as a patent, and no one can exclude anything and get copyright. So, sir, can we mix two things and get a patent of that?
You can mix two things and get a patent of it only when mixing the two things are not obvious to a person in your field. So it should be
Yes.
non-obvious and it should have some, what I say, some technical advancement.
Okay.
Any other queries? Please discuss. Students, please turn on your camera so that we can have a group photograph with the sir. All of you, please turn on your camera. Students, so we would like to express our sincere thanks to Dr. Amrish Chandra for giving an excellent coverage to intellectual property right. So we are really enlightened with your knowledge and presence, and our heartful thanks to our students for their active participation. So we will meet today again at 12 p.m. for the next session. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much
Thank you very
for
much.
joining
Thank you all
us.
the students for attending this. Thank you.
Thank you, students. So you have to be here. We are starting within a 5 minutes. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Rajiv sir.
Good afternoon. Voice is clear?
Yes, sir. It is pretty much clear. Students, we are starting with the second session of today. So, good afternoon to one and all. I take privilege to announce our second speaker for today. Mr. Rajiv Suri is the partner with firm RNA Technology and IP attorney. He heads the prosecution practice of firm along with transactional work involving IP commercial laws. He has extensive year of more than 25 year in handling the intellectual property matters, which include portfolio management, assisting some of Fortune 500 companies safeguard their IP assets, and handling work assisting foreign law firm across multiple jurisdictions. Mr. Suri has also supervised and handled numerous opposition, cancellation, and enforcement action involving continuous intellectual property issues. Mr. Suri is also expert at handling commercial agreement relating to foreign collaboration and joint venture related royalty payment and licensing issues involving intellectual property in such an arrangement, non-disclosure agreements, contract, etc. He regularly advises his client on acquisition, transfer, and sale of IP assets. He has advised client on both IP and commercial laws covering a wide spectrum of industries such as pharmaceutical, confectionery, healthcare, hospitality, real estate, e-commerce, and software and hardware technology companies. He is also involved in advising government department organization in developing and protecting their brands in India. So we welcome you, sir, to please present your session on IPR.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nidhi, for giving this introduction. First of all, thank you so much for the students to be here attending this session. Now, my topic for today is to give you an overview of IPR rights in India. Now, when we talk about IP, we talk about intellectual property rights, and these intellectual property rights are primarily such rights which are created out of one's intellect. And these are basically rights which are very useful when it comes to taking on any commercial ventures. Now today my topic would cover primarily 4 predominant intellectual property rights, which can be classified under trademarks, patents, designs, and copyrights. There are other intellectual property rights as well, but then these are the main categories where businesses function. Now, when I talk about the trademarks, we need to know what are the offices, which are the offices in India where we can go and register these trademarks. Now, there are 5 offices in India where we can go and register the trademarks. These are Delhi, Ahmedabad, Bombay, Chennai, and Kolkata. Now, these offices have been bifurcated along on the basis of the jurisdiction of the applicants or on the basis of the address for service of the agents who are involved in the prosecution of these trademarks. For example, if there is a foreign applicant and he or she or company wishes to file an application in India through an agent who is based in Delhi or in North India, then the jurisdictional office would lie at Delhi office. So Delhi registry becomes the office for filing such an application. Similarly, For Rajasthan and Gujarat states, it is Ahmedabad. For Mumbai covers the western region. Chennai covers the southern part of India, and Calcutta covers the eastern part of India. So this is how the bifurcation has been done. For companies which are based in any of these regions will go according to the jurisdictional office. Now, when we talk about trademarks, what we are talking about? Section 21ZB of the Trademarks Act 99 clearly lays out a definition of the trademark. It says that anything which can be graphically represented can qualify as a trademark. Now, obviously, this is a very vast definition which has been given to trademarks. Graphical representation does not mean that you have to sit on a graph paper. It means that if you can describe your trademark, then it can qualify as a trademark. There are various categories of trademarks. Essentially, the trademarks would constitute word mark, label, shape marks, sound marks, three-dimensional marks. Now you would have heard an Apple tune, right? The Apple iPhone tune. That can become a very good trademark. In fact, that is a trademark. Then there used to be a Nokia phone. Nokia also had a very peculiar sound to it. That was also a sound mark. So these are the categories in which trademarks fall. Now, when you file an application for a trademark, you have to provide information whether or not the mark is in use in India. And if the mark is not in use in India, then the application can be filed on the basis of intent to use. However, if the mark is in actual use, then obviously you need to give the actual date of use. And these days, it has been made mandatory that you also have to file an affidavit along with the application, which primarily affirms that the mark is in use. It takes around 10 to 12 months for the registration process to get completed. From filing to registration, the validity falls every 10 years. And there is also a provision whereby a priority can be claimed within 6 months of its filing, meaning from a convention country. Now, India is a signatory to Madrid Protocol and Madrid Agreements, where you have around more than 100 countries as convention members. So if an applicant is a foreign-based company, and if they have filed any application in any of those convention countries, within 6 months, if they come to India and file the application, their application can have a priority claim 6 months back. Now, for example, if I file an application today, let's say on March 20th, and the applicant has already filed an application which is dated 6 months back, that is somewhere in the month of, let's say, 20th of October 2020. So the date which the applicant can claim in the trademark application from a convention country, if they have filed it, would fall back to 20th October. So this is what it means. A priority can be claimed. Now, obviously, the validity extends to 10 years. Now, under the Indian law, date of application is deemed to be the date of registration. If the application, let's say, is filed today and the application proceeds to registration, let's say in 10 to 12 months time down the line, it is registered, let's say January 2021, 2022. If the mark is registered in 2022, the date of registration would still be taken as March 20th, 2021. And the renewal, because it's validity for 10 years, 2021 to 2031 will be the validity of that registration. After that, you can renew it successively for every 10 years. So 2021, 2020, 2031, 2041, this is how it goes. Now, when I talk about trademark office, we also talk about what exactly the trademark office does. Now, trademark office does what it does is it searches, it has its own searchable online database where they have, huge database of trademarks which have been filed in India since the year 1940. Now, 1940 it was the first act which came into place in India, and after that there was act which came 1958, and then it was amended in 1999. So what we are talking about is 1999 Act. So since 1940 there has been a trademarks, and it has reached now more than 4 million trademarks. So we have a database which caters to that. The registry conducts these applications, the examination of these applications, taking into account the provisions of the trademarks law, and main assessment is on the issue of the distinctiveness of the trademark vis-a-vis the goods or the services which have been applied for registration, and also the to see that if there are any conflicts or conflicting marks which are existing or pre-existing on the register. So this is how the examination takes place. Now, once you receive the examination report from the registry, you need to file a written response to it. Now, this written response you will file according to what has been stated in the judicial precedents, and also based on what exactly the nature and the character of the trademark is. This is how the response needs to be filed. For example, I take the example of, let's say, Apple as a trademark. Now, if I get to file Apple for fruits, that will be considered as a non-distinctive trademark, because everybody knows that apple is a fruit and no monopolistic right can be given on the word apple for fruits. But if I file an application for Apple covering iPhones, covering phones, mobile phones, tablets, computers, notebooks, then obviously nobody will think that this is something which can be related to anything related to IT. So this becomes a very good distinctive trademark. So this is how you need to decide upon the distinctive nature of the trademark vis-a-vis the registrability of it. Now, when you file your response to the exam reports, thereafter, it is scrutinized by the registrar, and if the registrar finds the submission suitable, it is accepted. Now, once the mark is accepted for registration, there is a procedure to file publication in the Trademarks Journal. Now, the purpose of publication in the Trademark Journal is to invite any objections or oppositions by any third parties, so that if somebody has any objection or still has any objection or any opposition to it, and they have any superior rights in any such marks which they can allege to be the proprietors of, then obviously they are still given an opportunity to oppose the registration of any such mark. Now, if the this opposition period runs for approximately 4 months. So if the mark is accepted, let's say today, it is published tomorrow in the Trademarks Journal, then the period of opposition will run for 4 months, beginning from tomorrow. So tomorrow, let's say it's 21st of March. It will run until April, May, June, July. 21st of July will be the opposition period within which it can be opposed. Now, once there is no opposition filed, the registry issues the registration certificate. Now, coming to patents and designs, to begin, when I talk about patents and designs, patent applications can be filed in 4 offices in India, which is Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, Calcutta. Again, the jurisdiction is decided based upon the where the applicant or the agent for address for service is based. For these are the patents, and the design offices. For design offices, there are only 2 jurisdictions, which are Delhi and Calcutta. Now, when I talk about patents, we need to see what constitutes patents. Now, Section 21M of the Patents Act 1970 clearly states that whatever is invented can be patentable. Obviously, it has to be an invention. Then it has to have an industrial application. However, there are certain exclusions which have been provided for under the Section 3 of the Act, which specifically excludes any method or treatment diagnosis of human beings, any plant or animal or part thereof, except microorganisms or biological processes for the production or propagation of plants or animals, or any adaptation. So these are exclusions. Obviously, microorganisms are not. They can still be patentable. Mere non-use or new form of known substance, or non-use or new use of a known process, then it also be patentable. Is not a patentable process. For example, if tomorrow somebody comes up with any efficacy remedy and it is derived from turmeric, haldi, it cannot be patented. There is an exclusion which has been provided for, because it will not constitute a However, computer programs or softwares can be patentable if they come along with any hardware. So these are the inclusions which are there. Exclusions. Now, when we talk about designs, now what constitutes designs? Designs are, it can be it can be respect of any article, but the overall aesthetic appeal of the design of an article should be absolute novelty. There should be absolute novelty in it. It should not have any industrial application, and meaning that it should not have any functional features. Again, for designs, we can claim priority if the application is filed within 6 months from a convention country. Now, when I talk about copyrights, it is, first of all, for registration of a copyright, the registration of a copyright is not a necessity, or it's not a it is not necessary for you to attain a copyright registration in the first place. If tomorrow you come up with any literary work, any cinematographic work, any musical composition, any such things can be copyrighted. But as I told you, it is not necessary for you to take a documented right for the copyright. You can always seek registration for it. It's up to you, but not necessary. You can always use C within a circle as indicative, as a symbol that this is a copyrighted material. Then there is also under the law, in Indian law, the Indian law also recognizes that if somebody or some company or individual for that matter has attained any copyright outside India under the Berne or Universal Copyright Conventions in any such country, because India is also a member of such conventions, they can have reciprocal rights in India based on the registration which they have attained in those convention countries. Now, when I talk about Berne Convention, there is, I think, around about 179 countries which are member of the Berne Convention, and India is one of them. Then obviously there's a Universal Copyright Convention also, and the rights which they originate from the International Copyright Order of 1991. Now, other areas where you can have copyright now under the employment contracts. Now, whatever there is whenever you go in for an employment with an employer, and if there is such an arrangement, then any work which you are doing as a part of your employment, it also, the employer has all the copyright in that work. Now, these are you can have these copyrights basically expressly provided for under the employment contracts. Then where there is contract for service, like for example, if there is a vendor-vendee relationship where you are paying somebody to do something for you under a written contract, then in such a situation, that contract becomes contract for service, and you can take specific assignment from the vendee to have whatever the IP is created as a part of that contract comes back to you. Now, moving on, I'll now talk about the enforcing of your rights in India. What are the options which are available to enforce once you have taken these rights, because these are monopolistic rights? What are the options available to enforce such rights? Now, in India, we primarily have three categories where we can, enforce our rights. First are civil actions, secondly, criminal actions, and thirdly, you can also send some cease and desist notices. We call it C&D letters, and through negotiations. Now, when we talk about civil actions, now these civil actions can be taken against the offenders who might be a manufacturer or a distributor of certain goods, which are using an IP which is much similar to yours or much similar to the plaintiffs. So this is where the civil actions would lie. Now, once you file and find a plaint before the court, obviously you need to decide upon the jurisdiction of the court, whether or not a particular court has a jurisdiction, which is primarily dependent upon where the plaintiff carries on the business, or where the defendant carries on the business, or where the cause of action has arisen. So these are the various parameters where one can look for when one is deciding upon where a particular jurisdiction of the court would lie. Now, along with the plaint, you can also file an application under the CPC, Code of Civil Procedures, Order 26 Rule 9 application, which basically talks about appointment of court commissioners, where you can have a court commissioner appointed by the judge, who will take the responsibility to conduct that search and seizure with the help of police assistance and raid the premises of the parties. Now, this is the whole the procedure which is involved in civil actions. Now, if the court finds your merits in your case, they can issue the injunctions, and then you can use that injunction as a leverage to settle the matter. Now, when I talk about civil actions, obviously, like I said, the injunction is basically one of the reliefs which one can get, which are more prohibitive or mandatory in nature. Then there can be a search and seizure of the premises of the defendants, or hand over the goods. Whatever the goods are seized, they are handed over and they become the court's property, and thereafter the destruction can take place. You can also ask for damages or accounts of profits. But then at the same time, when we talk about damages, in India, the concept of damages is still in the nascent stage. It has not been so developed, but then there have been instances where courts have taken into consideration awarding of damages. But this is a very long drawn, lengthy process as to how you can quantify those damages. Now, when it comes to criminal actions, there are two routes available. Either you can go through a complaint before the magistrate or directly through the police. You can file a complaint before the police, and a police officer who is not below the rank of Deputy Superintendent of Police needs to take such an action. However, it is always advisable to go with this complaint before the magistrate, because police also considers the directions which are given by the magistrate in all its earnestness. However, because there is a provision under the Trademarks Act, which is section 1154, which says that in case a complaint is received by the police, they have to first seek the opinion of the registrar, and only then they can proceed further on if there is any violation of any IP right of the trademarks. So that is why it is always advisable to go directly through the magistrate complaint rather than going through the police, because police will first seek an opinion from the registrar and then act. Whereas on the basis of the magistrate order, one can directly act. Then obviously they'll also conduct the search and seizure, and in this, a big distinction is that they can also make an arrest, because this is a complaint which is filed under the Criminal Procedure Code section 156(3), and this is where the arrest happens, and thereafter the prosecution takes place, which includes all the trial, the witnesses, the evidences, the reports which are submitted on the analysis report of the counterfeit versus original products. Now this is a flowchart which I've devised in terms of how the criminal action goes from complaint before the magistrate, direct to the police, search and seizure, arrest, and then prosecution. So this is my presentation for today, which gave you a brief on what exactly the IP rights we are looking at and what are the enforcement options available to the plaintiffs when it comes to enforcing their IP in India. Over to you, Dr. Nidhi.
Students, please do interaction with the sir.
So this copyright or patent is limited to a country only. So, sir, is there any common places where we can register it's for globally, like for the whole world?
See, yes, like I said, let's say for the patents. For the patents, there is a Patent Cooperation Treaty, which is called PCT, where you can go ahead and file the application. What it does is, once you file a PCT application, you are automatically given 12 months time to decide which countries you want to go into. and there are 124, I think, member countries of this PCT who are the members, and then you need to decide in which countries you want to go further. And then once you decide in that jurisdiction, you are further given 31 months time to further propagate it. So this is I'm talking about the PCT. Then when it comes to the copyright, like I said, there is a Berne Convention and there is a Universal Copyright Convention, where any member of the Berne Convention country, an applicant from any member country can file an application in that Berne Convention country and seek reciprocal rights in a Berne Convention country. Like, for example, if somebody, let's say tomorrow, files an application for a copyright in Switzerland, they can have that registration on the basis of that copyright registration, they can enforce their rights in India. Because India recognizes reciprocal rights based on that Swiss registration. However, having said that, we have also seen that although the civil action, the court, the judges are much aware of this conventions, but when it comes to, taking any criminal action, there have been instances where police have insisted that you bring us a registration from the Indian authority. And that is where it becomes difficult for the lawyers to explain or tell them that, look, there is a convention which recognizes, and India being a member of that convention, India recognizes those reciprocal rights. So this is where we does at times advise clients that depending upon which IP we are looking at, if it is a copyright, we generally advise them to take a documented right in India as well, although it is not necessary. Does it answer your query?
Yes, sir. Sir, but like the patent is for a certain period of time, like 20 years. So,
Yes.
sir, like by mistake, if any company or any persons miss a chance to refile its patent application, so, sir, meanwhile, a person can use whatever the things is under the patent.
See, let me tell you, whenever we are talking about these IP rights, these are territorial rights, which means that if tomorrow I got an IP right within India, right? That right
Yes, sir.
can be enforceable within India. It cannot be enforced outside India. The option which is given to the applicants to make their life easier in terms of, these conventions are only there for helping the applicants out so that they don't have to go to each and every country to file the application. They can do it in one place. That's the only objective. When it comes to enforceability, these are territorial rights. So you need to go into that particular territory, attain a right, and then enforce it.
Yes, sir. And what's so one more question? So,
Yeah.
like, if I own a IT firm, and so the my employments design any software or anything. So, sir, who have the legal authority of the things, like whatever my client designs? Oh, sorry, my employment design.
See,
So, do the
may I have
company
your
have
name,
the
please?
rights?
May I have
Sir,
your name?
Shivam.
Sorry?
Sir, Shivam.
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 Shiva.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Shiva.
Shivam.
Shiva. Now, you need to decide. I need to explain it in a way that it becomes easier for you to understand. Now, when we are talking about these issues, we need to understand if, there is a contract of service or a contract for service, right? Now, when we talk about contract of service, we are primarily talking about employment. When we are talking about contract for service, we are talking about independent contractual relationship. In contract of service, anything which is being generated by an employee becomes the property of the employer automatically. When we are talking about independent contracts, where if you give somebody a contract to design something and it is being done under an independent contractual relationship, then it becomes that you need to seek a specific assignment from from either the vendee or whomsoever you have given the contract to design that thing for you. It is always better to have an express. Either you can have an express provisions in the contract which you enter into with the other party, or you take a specific assignment when you are dealing with such independent contractors. Assignment of the IP.
So that means in R&D teams can, like a member of R&D team can register its individual patents if he doing anything under any company rather.
See, when I am talking about R&Ds, obviously if R&D is being done as a part of an employment, then the employer is the ownership. The ownership of that R&D, whatsoever is generated out of it, would lie with the employer.
So in slide number 11, you had talked about C&D. Can you take a brief about that?
Yeah. When we talk about C&D, C&D is cease and desist letter. Now, what does it mean? It primarily means that if there are any offenders against whom you want to take an action, you know that they are the guys who are basically violating your intellectual property right, and you need to take an action against them. So instead of going directly to the court to enforce your rights, you can always send them a letter. Now, in that letter, you can primarily state your rights, how the intellectual property belongs to you. You enunciate your rights, and you also call upon them to give up any such nefarious activities which the other side is indulging into. So this is something which is called cease and desist, meaning please desist from doing such nefarious activities. So this is what the cease and desist letter in a nutshell is. And we have seen that this is also a very effective remedy when it comes to solving, when it comes to enforcing your rights. At times, the moment you tell them that, if you don't give up, you will take them to the court. There are the more than 60-70% chances that they would agree to your demands basically and give up any such activity which they might be indulging into. Yes.
And so is there any legal process, like if anyone can uses my right patent things? So sir, if I want royalty or compensation from them, so is there any legal things so that I can send in like a proposal that you are using this thing, so you have to pay me a royalty for this?
See, it is very difficult to quantify, and it is very difficult to put it in the first instance when you're writing a letter to them. You can make one of the requisitions in the cease and desist letter that you can ask them for the damages, but then you need to also quantify as to how you have arrived at the figure. Generally, these damages are not liquidated ones. Liquidated, I think you would understand what does it mean. These are basically punitive damages, and punitive damages are generally granted by the court. Whenever you take an action, you make one of the prayers where you say that, you know, I'm entitled to this much of damages. But then the court also considers those damages only if you are able to quantify those damages. And the quantification process is very complicated, because it's like, you know, you need to produce your books of accounts, you need to assess the market size, you need to assess a lot of the factors to quantify such damages, and it is very difficult that way. And most of the times we have also seen that the financial capacity of these offenders is not to the extent that they are able to pay those punitive damages or you know, any damages which you demand from them. Yes.
Sir, thank you, sir. So this you need, like this thing is seen in Facebook, where Mark Zuckerberg has to pay the compensation money to the other person. So that's why I asked. Thank you, sir. I got my answer.
See, insofar as India is concerned, like I said, the concept of damages is not still well developed. But America, you can sue them for millions of dollars. You can get it. The situation in America is totally different, or in Western world.
So I have a question.
Yes, tell me.
So suppose I'm working for an R&D institution. So will that institution have ownership rights over each and every of my research, whether I'm doing it individually or with them?
See, when it comes to individually, if the subject matter is not related to it, what your scope of work covers, then obviously you will have a right in it. But if the subject matter of your research covers scope of the work, then obviously the institution would have a right in it.
So suppose both the works are similar, the one which I'm doing with that institution and another which I'm doing individually. So I'll have to.
Like I said, if it is in clash, even if it's similar, doesn't matter. If it is completely different, what you're, you know, researching, or, you know, trying to invent something which is beyond your scope of employment, then obviously you have a right in that, and you can fight it out.
But the cases, if both the researches are same, so in that case, will I have to prove that I'm doing this individually or what?
See, like I said, contract of service and contract for service. If you are under any contract of service, you are bound by it.
Okay, sir.
If anyone wants to ask more questions, he or she may ask. No questions? No questions, sir. Okay, thank you so much, sir. Thank you for your wonderful session and enlightening us with your knowledge. Thank you for your valuable time. I hope the students might have got so much benefit from your session today. And thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rachna, and thank you, Amity, for giving us this opportunity to be here today. And thank you for such a wonderful interactive session. Thank you.
So may I request students to switch on their cameras, please, so that we would could have one photograph. In virtual mode, we have to do this only, sir. Sir, please, can you unshare your PPT?
Is it okay now?
Yeah, sir. It's fine. Okay.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All the best.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, students.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Ma'am, are we done for today?